All right, everybody. Welcome to this week's Micro Minute Radio Show. I'm your host, Alan. As you guys know, I've decided that what the hell, I'll make a YouTube channel, and everything that we talk about and discuss will be posted on there. Um, the tech shows were fine as I was able to take all of the questions and comments that were answered and just plop them into a text channel. However, at 200 or at max 2,000 characters every message, I realized that it was near impossible for me in order to actually keep that up. And so from now on, I will be doing everything by voice. And then I'll be uploading that to YouTube and then just taking that file and posting it into the radio room so that you guys have a general archive of what's going on. So, a lot of stuff going on because I have you up all the way up since I'm playing a game while listening to you. Not a problem, man. I'll be sure to be very quiet. So, we got some stuff to talk. We got some stuff to talk about. We have the Itsy-Bitsy micro block. Um, the Itsy-Bitsy micro block is the Red Riot Pact. Just by a show of yes or no in the interview discussion channel, how many people have even heard of the Red Riot Pact? Okay. Yes, no, no, yes, no. Okay. No. So the Red Riot Pact was a conglomerate. It is the largest block ever in the game. It happened this year, and the nobody knows about it, and not a whole lot of people care about it because it was just a bunch of micros. Um, I shouldn't say. Oh yes, I'm sorry. It's last year. It was last year, December, November time. Um, but it was the largest block in terms of signatories. And I want to kind of go through this a little bit and explain the importance of it and what it actually means. So the Red Riot Pact was a bloc consisting of FSR, the Federation of Soviet Republics, and 10 other micros. Now, what's interesting is that they didn't sign treaties with one another, but they generally just said, okay, we're all going to be in this pact together. So it was a little bit confusing because you were like, okay, well, who's in the pact? Is there a list of this? And the official answer is no. There's not really a list of who was in it. Um, but there was 11 different alliances. So the several questions need to be asked. Why weren't people interested in just merging into one big alliance? Why weren't people interested in even signing treaties with each other? And what does the definition of bloc actually mean? So to start, the definition of a bloc is a combination of countries, parties, or groups sharing a common purpose. That's very key. It's not just a combination of countries and parties, it is sharing a common purpose. So, what was the purpose of Red Riot Pact? The Red Riot Pact's purpose was that we are not going to merge. That was the whole thing. That was their common purpose. The common purpose is we are going to band together and say that we're not going to merge. In terms of blocks and packs, it is very, very loose for why we need to make this pack. Um, the more interesting part about it is out of the 11 people in the Red Riot Pact, 6 of them ended up merging with other alliances. So a little bit of a failure on that end. The reason that they didn't sign treaties with one another was because Federation of Soviet Republics was running basically the FA side of the pact. So they were trying to grab as many people as possible and then eventually have them all merge into Federation of Soviet Republics. The most I, I can't even say the most notable, because obviously if you don't know about it, you don't know about it. The most interesting of the pact members was the Holy Roman Empire, HRE. They basically said that they had 13 people. Then they moved 8 of them over into. Um, we're gonna get to the internal issues in FSR in just a bit, because this is the Red Riot Pact sets the stage for why they're having issues right now. So we had a bunch of we had HRE that basically said, "Oh, we're a bunch of different people. We're going to change." So now we have 8 people in our training alliance and 4 people in our main alliance. Then they said, "No, no, no, that's not going to work. We're going to move everything back over, and we're going to have 2 people in the training alliance, and we're going to have 11 people in the main alliance." Then 8 of them got banned from Maltese. Bit of an ouch. For HRE. Now, a lot of people merged into Federation of Soviet Republics. The second in command of FSR left for the fighting pacifists. Mao Zedong basically took everything and said, "Okay, here's what we're going to do with it. Bang, 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 bing, bong, boom, done." Right? Well, not really. There's some serious internal struggle going on with FSR at the moment, because there's about 4 different sets of people that say that they're going to make their own alliance with the members of FSR. So you have the guy that left for the fighting pacifists. He says he's coming back. I don't like the way and the direction that the current government is taking the alliance. And so because of this, I am going to recreate the alliance and take a bunch of people and bring them with me. Then you have Mao Zedong that says, no, 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 you can't do that. I am going to have an alliance and do my own thing there. Then we have a third person that says, no, 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 I have proof that FSR is run by Maltese on VPNs. Here it is. And because of that, I'm taking all the real players and making an alliance. Then you have the final person that says, absolutely not. You guys are all trash. I'm going to take the alliance and make a block with it. Great. I'm looking at all of this and I'm just like, realistically, right? They could split up into 2 alliances, FSR being the remaining members, and the new alliance with the old leader that's currently sitting in the fighting pacifists. It's not worth it, though. And here's why. FSR at the moment is the only surviving member of the Red Riot Pact. They had 4 of the Red Riot Pact members merge into them. And that's why we're kind of seeing all these different leaders kind of step up, because they were the leaders of those other alliances. So looking at it as a micro perspective and saying, what is the significance of this? The significance of this is that it is not impossible to see competent leaders come out of shitty situations. And this is kind of where I'm taking this right now, is there are so many micros and some of them have fantastic leaders. However, it's the, how do I get that jump starting? How do I get that going in order to make a good alliance? And I don't have the answer for that. You know, I can formulate opinions, I can say what I did, but I do not have the answer for what can you do as a micro to guarantee your success. There is no guidebook out there for that. There's no, rhyme or reason that says, oh yes, if you do X, Y, and Z, bam, you're going to be in the top 50 in 3 months. Red Riot Pact has a ton of members that are no longer in the game, either because they just went inactive or they actually got banned. QVZYX, if I remember, or is it, no, sorry, QWERTY from Economica was going to bring Economica into the Red Riot Pact. However, he got banned for multis before he could do that. So the membership of the Red Riot Pact, you look at it and you say, okay, how many, you have 11 signatories, but you have 32 nations in the Red Riot Pact. What does this do for the members? Because if you have a bunch of different small alliances that are working towards a common goal of we're not going to merge, and then completely fail, that hurts the game. There's a lot of stuff being talked about in the macro world where they say there needs to be updates to what the requirements are in order to make an alliance. Right now the current requirement is you need to have 1,000 score and not have made an alliance within the last 2 days. That's it. At 1,000 score, all you have to be is City 8 with a decent military, and you'd be at 1,000 score. City 8, I did a speed run. I did a speed run, and I wanted to say, without any assistance from another alliance, how fast could I reach 1,000 score? It took me 26 hours of game time, and I was able to get to City 8. Well, actually, no, I wasn't able to get to City 8. I got to 1,000 score. And I was at City 7 with infra and military. If you're able to create an alliance within almost 24 hours of first starting the game. Now, granted, you have to know exactly what you're doing. You have to know exactly what targets to hit to get the money to do it, but you can do it, and just by sheer luck. So why, there's a legitimate argument for increasing the limits in order to get rid of this huge, all right, we have 11 signatories to a micro block, and all but one of the alliances are gone now. So this is me talking as Microminute and not Black Skies, but what is the baseline of, in my mind, this is the requirements for making an alliance? Personally, I feel that your nation has to be at least 30 days old. Making an alliance is so challenging when you're first starting the game because you have no idea about the global foreign policies of the alliances that you'll potentially be working with. So by playing the game for 30 days, it forces you to join an alliance. Otherwise, you're going to get stomped over and over again. Now, if you're going to be stomped over and over and over again, you're either just going to leave the game or you're going to make an alliance and then not do anything with it. With the 30-day timetable allows you to say, okay, we just had someone join, I don't know, Camelot. Somebody joined Camelot. They completed the training program in 10 days, and we got them to City 10. Well, now they just left to make their own alliance. They can't. They have to wait another 20 days in order to do that. So Ash says, I say 6 months or at least one global. You can't like flick a switch and say, okay, a global's happened, now everyone can make an alliance, because we're going to go through a huge drought of no new micros coming into being, and then we're going to have a huge surplus of like 100 alliances being created at once. And 6 months, in my opinion, is just far too long. 6 months, um, like my head of military affairs right now, Coracedo, is proficient enough in order to run their own alliance. And they've only been playing the game for 100 days. The thing is, if you make it that long, it's going to um, not only put a chokehold on one of the outlets for bringing in new players, which is the idea of, oh, you can make an alliance, but it's also going to be almost impossible to see any new growth within the alliance sphere. That's no new blocks, no new anything. Because if you're going to be in an alliance for 6 months, let me tell you, the math shows that being in an alliance for 3 months or more means that you are going to stay with that alliance, and it's like an 83%. If I'm in an alliance for 3 months, there's an 83% chance I'm going to be in that alliance for the rest of time. At 6 months, it's up to like 92%. So with a 92% chance, no new alliances. We're going to be stuck with the 50 really huge big dogs of the alliance, and then what? What happens in terms of blocks, politics, wars, globals? Everything and everyone is going to constantly get hit, and there's going to be so much vying for that number one spot that the already what I consider to be a rough, toxic environment is going to even become worse. One month is good enough. The other thing is increase the limit from 1,000 score to 1,500. 1,500 requires you to be at least City 10. It requires you to at least have a decent military and to be able to protect yourself as well as others. The last thing is you have to be. So we're talking about increasing the requirements to make a new alliance. So the requirements would be you'd have to have 30 days. Your nation would have to exist for at least 30 days. Your nation has to at least have 1,500 score, and your nation has to at least fought in 50 wars. Now, having a nation fight in 50 wars, super easy to do. It's actually one of the requirements to get an additional project slot unlocked. And because of that, if you say, okay, congratulations, you've done your 50 wars, here's a project slot, and now you can make an alliance. That seems a little more beneficial to actually learning how to raid by doing your 50 wars. And those that just want to kind of build and do this pseudo, oh yeah, we're all at peace with each other, cough cough, United Confederations of Canerica, they won't be able to make an alliance. You literally have to stick your neck out and do a bunch of stuff in order to make an alliance. So, looking at the largest micro block ever, or the largest block period in terms of signatories to ever exist, Red Riot Pact, it is without a doubt necessary, or it's without a doubt a necessity to increase the requirement of making an alliance. Because at this point, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can make an alliance. that person brings 2, 3 people that might actually be a benefit to the community as a whole. But because that one person was able to make an alliance, the 3 people that joined are going to get snubbed, and they're going to get stuck in a rut at city 5 or 6 and won't be able to do anything. So, you know, FSR is, in a rut right now because of something that they created because of an outstanding issue. Oh, God. Okay. 30 minutes on one thing. Fuck, these shows are gonna get long. So, the next thing I have is belay that, belay that. Okay, so another show of hands in the chat. How many people say, okay, the second in command of the alliance can do stuff on my behalf? Or how many people say I'm in an alliance where the second in command can do stuff on the leader's behalf? Solar says no. NR says second IC does basically nothing. TLE is yeah. Only if the leader is absent. For me, it would depend. The question was how many people are in an alliance or are in the situation where the second in command of the alliance can do stuff on the alliance leader's behalf. When the leader is absent. So, I'd like to tell you all a story about a small teeny alliance that nobody has probably ever heard of. I'm gonna explain to you the story of Pickles. Pickles was an alliance back in 2018, was 5 people, and they did jack all nothing. They weren't a part of any wars, they didn't have any prots, they didn't do anything. But what was so interesting about Pickles is it's one of the very few alliances that I took notes of because of the way they handled how the second in command did stuff. Now, in 2018, I was running as a City 3 raider. I was, hitting any and all alliances, and as long as you were City 3 or 2, you were fair game, period. I hit somebody in Pickle, and it's the only time that I've ever seen City 3s work so well with each other in order to actually defeat me. Now, on that reroll, I was up to 400 wars won, and I wasn't quite on the leaderboard yet. Um, the fact that they were able to work so well with each other, I've said I have to see what's going on here. I'm going to join their Discord. They did not have a Discord. They had the leader of the alliance, and from there were a handful of people, but nobody else within the alliance. And I was like, this is incredible. How do you all work so well with each other? And it is use of the in-game announcements. And I'm like, who the fuck uses the in-game announcements anymore? Everyone's using Discord, and there's still that one alliance, we won't mention who you are, that uses TeamSpeak. But every other alliance uses the a voice or a general group. I don't care if you're using Skype. You know, every alliance kind of has that. To run an alliance with 5 people in it, all through the in-game messaging system and the alliance announcements, was insane to me. And I was like, okay, I'd like to join Pickles and see how you actually run things. So I joined Pickles. They had maybe 150 alliance announcements. It was shocking. And I'd like to illustrate the beauty of alliance announcements here. So the leader of an alliance is in charge of the alliance. It's in the name, leader, you lead it, easy. The second in command, though, has this unique thing at their fingertips called the alliance announcements. It is, in my opinion, that if the leader of the alliance is taking care of things within the Discord, the second in command should be doing in-game alliance announcements. What does this mean? It means that while the leader of the alliance is making sure that everything is running smoothly on the active player base, those that aren't active within Discord, every time they go to the alliance, there's a new. When they click the alliance, it will automatically bring you to the alliance announcements section. So it forces you to look at it. And it forces you to click the announcement itself and say, okay, this is what the announcement is. Now that I've clicked on it and it's marked as read, I'm not automatically directed to the alliance announcements section. I'm just put onto the information page again. This basically force of information can keep your members active, which is absolutely, astronomically important when people don't use Discord on a day-to-day basis. Discord is not the, end-all solution to keeping people active, and most people don't even use Discord, because you have to remember, Discord is still relatively young in its infancy. Discord came out 2014. But the beautiful thing is, we have created the environment now where if you are not in the Discord, you are removed from the alliance. However, there is one alliance yeah, I'm not going to get into it. There's still a bunch of alliances that don't have that policy, though. And this is what they do. So you have somebody, they join the Discord in order to um, join the alliance. If they don't get on Discord again, but they're active in game, how do you communicate what's going on in Discord in game? Because obviously, if they're active in game, they're still participating in wars. You don't necessarily want to cut that person from the alliance. So the best thing to do is to utilize the in-game announcements and have your second in command run the in-game announcements. So the leader is doing the announcements in the Discord, and the second in command is running the announcements in the alliance announcements section. There is a catch with this. And the catch with this is under the announcements, people are able to reply. You do not want to have people replying to the in-game announcements, because that's going to drive people batshit crazy. Because not only is that every announcement that shows up, you have to get rid of the announcement, but it's every message that follows. Every message that follows, you have to go and specifically look at that message in order to get back to the information page. a true nightmare when you're having to deal with a bunch of people. That's why everyone moved from, okay, we'll do all this in-game stuff, to, okay, Discord is now a requirement, because Discord is so much easier and less painful in terms of dealing with the in-game mechanics. In my opinion, the alliance announcements section should be run as a forum. So like each alliance can have their own miniature forum, so that it's not forced upon the player to actually go and look at it. But as they are indeed forced to go look at it now, I would say take a very large advantage in order to keep those people that aren't necessarily active in Discord engaged within the community. If you have people that believe they're engaged with the community, even when they're not a part of the Discord, you're able to increase and keep that retention rate. So when I say belay that, I don't mean that the second in command should do stuff instead of the leader. I'm saying that the second in command needs to do the same stuff as the leader, but handle all the in-game items. I'm actually going to go and, because there's an alliance. Oh wait, I got to go under control panel. Hold on. Control panel. Archived treaties. Okay. How many of you remember the Kalmar Union? Show of hands in the interview discussion channel. Lysander the Great actually was a result of Kalmar Union. So Kalmar Union was another alliance that did this same thing. They both had a Discord, and they ran the in-game messaging system. It's unfortunate that the alliance fell apart because there was a huge disagreement between head FA and the leader of the alliance. But Kalmar Union was in fact a huge indicator to me that the in-game messaging system was king. Shouldn't be used only. It should be used in tandem with Discord, but the in-game messaging system is still king. It's very easy to be on mobile and stuff, look at the alliance announcements, and not have to worry about, okay, I have to go all the way from Discord back to the Politics and War, because Politics and War isn't on just Google. There's actually a Politics and War app. And I completely understand the in-game messaging system right now is a burden. It's absolute nightmare to try and deal with it, and to try and put the basic kind of blocks in place to make sure that it's not spammed to high hell. That's why you don't want to use the in-game messaging system. You want to use the alliance announcements. I will say, if the in-game messages had a voice message option, the entire thing would be a joke. I mean, I can guarantee you more bans would come out of the abuse of in-game messaging than that. So there you go. Alliance announcements section actually works, actually increases your retention rate of your members, but not only that, keeps them engaged, so that in moments of long droughts and peace, you're actually able to hold on to and retain your membership. The third thing I'd like to get into is Comatose and other things to help you sleep. Yeah. What? Okay. Uh, Once again, in the interview discussion channel, what is your opinion on the number one thing that drives alliances into disarray, inactivity, and then ultimately a disbanding or merge? Bad gov? Bad gov, I would say, is in number two. There's one thing that is slightly worse than bad gov. No communication or lack of wanting to play the game. The communication is really important. However, I want you to focus on lack of wanting to play the game. Number one thing that drives alliances into inactivity. Yeah, I feel that, Rag, honestly. So the actual number one killers to alliances is naps, non-aggression pacts, especially huge naps after the end of wars. Um, TKR, after this NAP, um, lost, or they dropped from 175 members down to 146. I'll say if you lose 30 members of an alliance because they get bored of the game, that's pretty bad. Rose grew a ton because they had an alliance merge into them, and they also did a shit ton of recruitment during the war. The okay, so I'm not saying get rid of NAPs because that's stupid. We obviously need NAPs in order to enjoy the ups and downs of the game. The What I'm saying is NAPs should not be blanketed. So there shouldn't be okay, you can't attack X, Y, and Z because there's a global NAP on the field. You can't do that. Um, Pirates are going to be pirates, raiders are going to be raiders, and you have to keep your alliance active. Nobody is getting on every day and saying, "Oh boy, I can't wait. I can make a city in 10 days." Nobody's doing that. They're desperately wanting to do something, which is why all of these alliances are coming out with stuff to benefit the community, like Minecraft servers, Scriblio, Among Us events. Everyone is desperately trying to find something to do because nobody is sitting there and being like, ah, yes, I get to look at my nation for 4 hours a day and be like, yes, every single turn I get, 200K less. Actually, no, it's, for you upper guys, it's like, yes, $1 million left, so that's 400 million to go to my next city. Ugh. So, what is some things to help keep your alliances active? I did a op-ed about this. This was like op-ed 4 or 5, but I wanted to go into some of the more unique things that alliances are doing in order to keep them active. Um, Number one, Minecraft servers are really cool. However, it doesn't really do anything for the entirety of the alliance. You can't say, oh, everyone can do this now because not everyone has Minecraft. You can't say, oh, everyone can do Scriblio because not everyone wants that. You can't say, oh, we can do, I don't know, movie night because not everyone wants to do that. So, when you're looking at what is the what is it that is required to keep an entire server active, it's literally the server itself. The server itself needs to be a hangout for everyone. Now, this is not saying your server should become a multi-game platform, because that's not it at all. But your server needs to be generally warm and inviting for people to chill and still communicate with everyone, and the game is kind of an afterthought. If you're able to do that and you're able to say, okay, you're joining the alliance because of the game, but you're going to stay for the people, that is by far more important than anything else. Black Skies, we have a relatively high retention rate right now. It's not perfect because we lose our like City 3, City 5s mostly, but our retention rate is really good because the people in Black Skies made food kingdoms that was talked about a little bit. Um, just a general hangout place for people to mess around with each other is key for any great success, because when you're all hanging around doing stuff, if somebody gets hit, boom, already you have 5 people online looking for counters. If somebody says, oh, we have a new applicant, boom, you're already helping that applicant. Keeping your server active and alive is super important to keeping your alliance alive. So I would say the number one event that you can do in order to keep your server alive is by you, the leader, or you, the member, sitting in a voice call during your slow hours. Now, your slow hours are hours that you don't usually play with friends because they're either at school, at work, or you're just a night owl. So chill in the voice chat, play some music. I mean, what the hell are you doing anyway? And if somebody comes by, you can just chat and chill. If not, and because nobody's wanting to make this first step, nobody's going out there and saying, I'm going to actually sit in a voice chat for 4 hours because I want to. Nobody's saying, I want to go chill for 4 hours because somebody might show up. They're only going to join if somebody else makes that initial first step. So, in order to keep your server from slipping into comatose, and in order to keep your server alive and active, you yourself need to make the initial first step to chill within the server in order to do that. Now, we have one more topic to go through, and then I'm going to open it up to questions and everything, and if anyone wants me to talk about something, I 100% can. Oh, goodness. I got to bring water when I do these shows. Do micros exist? Fact or fiction? What do you think, guys? Do micros actually exist? Yes or no? Yeah? Question mark? Ah, Frag hit it. Everyone's definition of a micro is different. So, in terms of the definition of micro, do micros exist? And to answer that question, we need to ask another question, which is what defines a macro? And really, everyone's definition of a macro is different. There's a general consensus that everything within top 50 is a macro. Um, but some people say, no, it's only top 30. I mean, Rag says generally any alliance above 50K score is a macro. But that's the thing. When do we say this is a macro and this is a micro? Where's the actual cutoff point? And there really is none. You know, Spanish Armada was a micro. They were under top 50. They had 7 members in the alliance, 34K score. However, everyone in that alliance had like 30 to 40 cities, and they were constantly kicking people's asses. So it wasn't fair to call Spanish Armada a micro because they really weren't. So that's the thing. Micros don't exist. Macros don't exist. It's only a term that we give to define something because we don't really know what to call it. And Mr. Pineapple, you got it too. Pineapple says when I think of micro macro, I more of think of alliance competency level. So I'm going to give the definition of a macro and micro, and this is the legitimate definition. Everything else is going to be opinion. Because as Rag just pointed out, even finding a competent or even determining the competency of an alliance is hard. So, are you guys ready? There are only 2 alliances in game currently that are a macro alliance. What are they? One is super easy. Everyone should get the first one. Rose. Bam. Rose is the macro alliance because they are the biggest. That makes sense. What's the other alliance that's a macro? And thank you. Starfuse gets it. It's TKR, the Knights Radiant. Rose and TKR are the only 2 macros in the game. They are the largest alliances of the largest blocks of the largest economies, period. Everything else is a micro. Everything. Error 404 is a micro. The Lost Empire is a micro. Because, and this is getting into the exact definition, when you compare Rose with TLE, Rose is what 5 times larger than TLE, and you look at this exponential curve in size, and from there you're able to say, okay, this is why these 2 alliances are king. These are why these 2 alliances are macros. Yeah, so we look at even looking at like the Commonwealth, okay? 232,000 alliance score. They're number 8. They're actually a micro because Rose is technically 3 times larger than the Commonwealth. And that's the problem. So the exact definition of micro macro is that Rose is a macro, TKR is a macro, everyone else is a micro, according to the exact definition of macro micro. However, when looking at we can't really say that because that's not fair to the top 10, top 30. Let's look at a broader macro micro. What is then a macro and a micro? So show of hands, how many people say top 30 is a macro, everyone else is a micro. Only the yeses. Okay. How many people say that top 50 is a macro, everyone else is a micro? Only the yeses. Nobody there? Okay. How many people say anyone above 50K score is a macro, everyone else is a micro? All right, two yeses there. And finally, how many people say anyone with a high competency level is a macro and everyone else is a micro? Only the yeses. Yes and no. They're two polar opposites, my guy. So that's the beautiful thing. Everyone is going to have their own definition of a macro and a micro. Nobody is going to have the same definition, and never in the game are we ever going to be on the same definition again, because the game is constantly evolving, so that we have to keep changing what our perception of a macro micro is. Um, but that's the key. Macro micro implies that the alliance type is determined by size, not competency level, not necessarily score. It's just give me the biggest alliance that has the biggest political impact, that has the biggest say in how the world operates. And right there, you're down to Rose and TKR. Rose and TKR have been the dominant leaders of politics and war for the past 2.5 years now. Actually, I take that back. TKR has definitely been one of the most dominant alliances for the past 2.5 years. Rose has been kind of trading places with the Commonwealth in like 2018 and the Syndicate. So NPO is different. NPO, so Guinea Pig Whaling Company, can you consider that to be a macro? Yup. Okay, so we got two yeses, three yeses. And so here's the thing. So we've said that, going through this, that our definitions of macros and micros change. They had nearly 840 members. They were the first alliance to reach 1,000 members in total. Now, granted, you have to consider like applicants and everything, which was a nightmare, but they were generally the largest alliance ever. But actually, no, they weren't the largest alliance ever, because Treasure Island was the largest alliance when everyone merged into one alliance for the treasure benefits. That was the largest alliance ever, and they had over 1,200 people. But so Guinea Pig Whaling Company was massive, but they didn't do anything. They were literally just farmers. So that's why you can't say that top 50 is a macro, because, well, Guinea Pig Whaling Company was in there, but they weren't even playing the game. You can't even say top 30, because you have instances of, oh yeah, Um, you have a bunch of stuff that goes on within the alliances that are, don't make them quote unquote competent. Um, Farming is part of the game, and it is important to just general alliance welfare. However, when you are basically paying people to farm for you in politics and war, that's not a general player farming at that point. That's a bot. That is, I basically have a bunch of quote unquote legal multi accounts. So you can't, I mean, if they're not even playing the game, you can't even say that they're an alliance, because they're not playing the game. They are literally just there to exist. That's it. Because if you're saying then that, oh, but they, okay, so let's take that. If they are saying, okay, but they still exist though, so they should be considered a top 50. So what does that make Taith? Is Taith a micro? They have to be. They're not in top 50. They don't even have 50K score. Taith must be a micro. I see several people are typing. Okay, so Taith is a bank. I don't feel like, uh, I don't feel like they can be considered a micro. But, or in Rag says, but they are a micro though. They are a bank and a micro. So that's, so nobody can give the exact definition of a micro alliance. Therefore, because there is no exact definition of a micro alliance, the core of what is a micro does not exist, which is really whack if you think about it, because you say, okay, Taith controls about 35% of every single company in existence ever, you know, and because of that, they own 35% of all of the markets. They own 35% of the advertising, the flag design, um, you know. So if I am a single person and I own 35% of the world's steel, am I considered a micro? Or it's because I have that power, I have the largest amount out of everybody, that makes me a macro. So the real definitions of micro macro cannot be set on a true identity basis. Um, uh, a counterexample: we can't effectively define what money is. However, we know that the U.S. dollar is an example of money. Well, we have the exact definition of money, and money is an item that is exchanged in place of an item for goods and services. So, because you have bartering, which is exchanging one item for another thing, but the money says, I am good, I can back whatever you are trading me. So there is an exact definition of money, but macro just means big and micro means small. What is small? What defines them being small? Because an alliance can be both big and small. What's a macro? An alliance can be both small and big. The beautiful thing about politics and war is that it's up to the players to decide what is what and how we go about determining the scale in which we grade things. Um, because you can take all of the alliances, that are 100 and less, merge them all together, and they are still not as big as rows. However, all of those alliances have way more people than rows. So that's the thing. So now wait a second. Even though we have the smallest group, or we have the largest alliance in the game, is outnumbered by the smallest people in the group. Now, granted, you can argue, okay, well, city scores have to play in there. If Rose declared war on everyone below rank 100, Rose would obviously win. I get that. Relatively speaking, though, Rose can be outnumbered by a guinea pig whaling corps. And from there, we need to say, okay, because the definition is so loose, we can't really say it's a micro macro. So when people start using micro as this is a micro alliance, obviously, that's based on their definition. This is a macro alliance, obviously, that's based on their definition. And if you ask like Havgul will say everyone is shit except like these 8 alliances. Those are macros, everyone else is micros. I'm like, what? So macros and micros should be defined by their influential power. So what is influence? Grumpy is a macro. They are, you know, huge, but they're kind of a micro as well because, you know, they sit. So Grumpy can sway wars, they can do this, they actually have people that are huge, City 35 plus. Okay, hold on. I'm recording this for YouTube, so I got to read this out. Generic says, create an index based on economic output, score, military, number of cities, member count, economic influence, political influence, and age. Base the definition on every alliance that falls above the median point or 25 percentile or something as a macro. You ready for this? Black Skies is a macro. Error 404 is a macro. You want to know who aren't macros by that definition? The Syndicate is not a macro. Guardian is not a macro. World Task Force, not a macro. Farkistan, not a macro. BK, not a macro. UPN, not a macro. Because when creating that index, you're already putting fault in there because you're not under it's right. So what defines weight? How do you weigh each category? And and that's the thing. You can never ever 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 get everyone to agree on the true definition of macro micro. Never. Because everything is so opinion based, it is impossible to get the true definition. Okay, so what defines generic? What defines a clear macro? Because you're saying a clear macro, but everyone else has a different opinion on what a macro is. Use multivariable calculus to make sure all of them fall in the equation. I don't know how calculus works into defining, okay, this is where the macros fall, but that's much too complicated. Exactly, Starfuse. It's much too complicated for what we're trying to achieve here. Let's go down the alliance page and figure out if they're micro or macro majority rule. You're going to have that might be the closest that we ever get to a macro micro. Oh, so this is what I'm doing next week. Okay, I'm actually glad that you brought this up. Next week, I am not doing a radio show. Next week, I am going to take the top 50 alliances, and if we have time, I'll do the top 100 alliances, and I'll actually do the like the grade it scales where they put stuff. Okay, like yeah, this is like an S tier alliance. This is like an A tier alliance. That's what I'm going to be doing, and everything that is D or below is going to be the micro, and everything that is C and above is going to be the macros, and that's how we're going to solve it. So join us next week as we generically grade every single alliance and place them on a scale. Should be fun. So no, I'm your opinions. That's the thing. If we get the majority rule on the people here in the chat that says, well, BK is a B tier alliance, I'm gonna slot it in. I'm gonna slot it into the B. You know, um, I have no ability to rank alliances because I do not know what they're. I don't even know a lot about how the alliances operate as a whole, unless and nobody can really know that unless you're a part of that alliance, unless you've actually experienced it, because they might advertise themselves as one thing and then be completely separate. So next week, everyone here is going to be grading alliances. So that should be fun. Okay, so on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being a macro and micro being 5, what does that make 2, 3, and 4 then? Not macro, not micro, just kind of there. It exists in the no man's land. So that's so in that no man's land, it used to be gold, silver, bronze. That's what came out as the idea of, okay, top 10 alliances are going to be gold. Then it was from 11 down to 30 is going to be silver, and then everything below that is going to be bronze. This day and age, I would say top 25 or top 20 is gold, 26 to 50 is silver, everything below that is bronze. Yes, and that would be defined based on alliance rank. So taking each alliance and okay, is Just John the best alliance leader? Just John isn't even Just John, so I can't even say that because Just John doesn't exist. It's actually somebody that got banned a little while ago, and so because of that, it's, okay, Rag, I can see that. 1 to 30 gold, 31 to 60 silver, everything else bronze. I can get behind that. I can get behind that. And that might be even, that's probably better than just doing a blanket macro micro, because at least then gold does not mean anything. It does not mean that you're big. It just means that your score as an alliance has given you the rank of gold. It doesn't mean that, oh, bronze, you're super small. It just means that based on your score, you are considered a bronze alliance. It has nothing to do with competency. It has nothing to do with um, how many cities you have. It has nothing to do with any of that. It is just the most generic. We are going to rank alliances, and we're going to use the term golds for top 50, silvers for 31 to 60, and bronze for everyone else. Should be, I mean, that would be the easiest thing to do. Could do grades like primary school. That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see us do grades for alliances, and then we can like put them onto the alliance pages like health inspectors. you you get an A, you get B, you get C. The hell are you? What is this? Concord. D, you failed the health inspection. All right. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or anything they want to ask? Because I'm opening it up to you guys now. Anything at all. I'll discuss it. Alan, should we appoint to Concord to macro status? No. Easy. Next question. How should I go upon getting IRL friends to play Politics and War? Great question. Um, when talking to your friends about Politics and War, you have to tell them exactly what it is. Because if you try and hype it up and you say, "Oh yeah, you can fight people with armies and stuff, and you join alliances and you trade with each other," you're hyping up the game. You have to say it's a text-based RP game. You're going to lose a bunch of people that way, but it means that the people that you do keep are people that are legitimately interested in that type of stuff. Because trust me, there are people out there. So if you say, "Hey, you want to play a game with us? It's a role-playing text-based simulation," they would probably, you're going to get 10% of them saying sure. And you might lose 8% of those people, or 8% of that, but you're at least going to be able to be honest and bring people in from that. Holy cow. Guys, calm down. Okay, is Concord the only true macro? No. No, I would, if Concord changed their name to macro, they would still not be macro. Can we start a petition to revert the change to ground control back to when aircraft were OP? No. No, we can't. Because having aircraft as the only unit was bullshit. There's no reason to have aircraft as the only unit in the game, because then you could just say aircraft only. The game has 4 specific military units for a purpose. And if those purposes aren't even useful anymore, then you either have to rebalance the whole thing or get rid of them. And I'm going to be honest, if I have to log on every day just to buy airplanes and nothing else, that's going to be pretty boring for me and a lot of other people. Plus, you can't raid with airplanes. Just saying. Is the Secret Society a macro? I've never even heard of them. Let me go look them up so I can say no for you. The Secret Society. Redacted. Philip Cross. Well, is this what I think it is? Ah, yes. Let me create an alliance, then I'll drop everything down to 1 infra, unpowered, 0.01 infra, 0.01 land, and let me check their bank just to make sure that I'm not seeing shit. Oh, they're actually running an offshore. Yeah, offshores aren't even alliances. Get out of here. No, the secret society is not even a macro. Not a macro, not a micro. It's not anything. It's shit. Any other questions, comments? Anything in recent news? Anything about your alliance? Can I have a small loan of $1 trillion? Let me double check that for you. Data visualization, total money over time. There isn't even $1 trillion in the game. So no, you cannot have a small loan of $1 trillion. The current amount of funds currently in the game sits at 913,816,900,000 dollars. Thoughts on Stratosphere Marine Corps? Really fucking disappointed in them. Knights of the Stratosphere could have done fine on their own. The fact that they decided to merge into Marine Corps is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. If they were going to merge into somebody, at least pick an alliance that you match with. Because right now, Stratosphere has joined an alliance that A, nobody cares about, B, does not match your strengths, and D, is in such a position that they have about 150 treaties with about 4 different blocks, so that in the event of warfare, they're absolutely useless. That is probably the most catastrophic mistake that I've seen this month. Has anyone ever created a macro that outputs the entire alliance's economic output? I'm sorry. What? Has anyone ever created a macro that outputs the entire alliance's economic output? I don't even know what that question means. Thoughts on there is 300 billion in Just John's bank? There isn't. There isn't. I have seen 300 billion in my lifetime. I've seen the number. I have literally looked at it sitting in an alliance bank before. Just John does not have that. Do I know Pegleg? Vaguely. I vaguely know of Pegleg. I don't know what he did, but I know who he is, and I know what he's done on the forums a little bit. Should micros ever make a block together or no? If not, when do you think an alliance should make a block with other alliances and why? So here's the thing. I believe that blocks today are so inflated to only macros can make blocks. Everything else isn't a block. Micro blocks have been made to be a joke because all of them have failed so far. The most promising one was Ellipsis with the Void Touched Global Affairs and Treaty Organization and Unforgiven Legion, but even that fell apart because the Void Touched basically collapsed in on itself. The macros can make spheres. Any alliance can make a block. I like that. I really like that. And that's the thing. I believe that more micro alliances should make blocks with each other. I really do, because it gives them an excuse to coordinate with one another and to build relationships with other players in the game. I truly believe that making blocks on the micro level would be a good thing for the game. You and him should do a P&W podcast for Peg Leg. Maybe. I don't know. Invite him here and we'll see. Micros should all merge into one alliance and form a senate. If they did that, according to your definition, I believe they'd have 20% of the entire. Um, yeah, I believe they'd have 20% of the entire world's commerce. Which, let me tell you, that would make them a macro. Not a good block? Well, that depends. You see, going back to the definition of what a block is, a true bloc is a combination of countries, parties, or groups sharing a common purpose. If your bloc is able to achieve your common purpose, then it's a good bloc. People might not look, people might have the opinion that your bloc sucks because, it's a bunch of micros, but no, because they're doing what they set out to do. So that makes them a successful bloc. So they're not bad. But that's the thing. If the micros make a block and say our only intention is not to merge, and then they all merge, yes, that's a bad block. If you make a block and say our only intention is to communicate with each other and build a relationship with one another, 100%. Get 4 blocks. I want to see 4 new blocks with that goal in mind. Rose, Coop, and Pound don't say anything. Opinion on Never Gonna Give You. Up. That's really my opinion on it. Up. What blocker sphere is the best one for micros to get into, in your opinion? I personally believe that if Swamp was a little bit more lenient in their protectorate policy, that Swamp would be the best for micros because Swamp is staggered in terms of membership. They have the people all the way at the top in the top 20s. They have a bunch of people between 31 and 50. And then they have people even lower than that between 51 and 75. So as you grow with your alliance, your communication is going to increase as you start dealing with the bigger alliances. So I truly believe that Swamp is the best block for micros. Certainly not Camelot, because fucking God, look at Rosecam right now. They have like 4 protectorates right now, and they're all like 5 nations each, and they all fail because Camelot and Rose likes to gobble them up. Error 404 and Hedge, God fucking no. All Error 404 wants to do is merge you all into one alliance, cough cough dual suns, only for it to split in half again and collapse on itself, cough cough dual suns. Yeah. All right. Any more last minute questions? I'm only going to do this for another 6 minutes because we've been here for a long ass time. What do you think of smaller alliances that have prots? Okay. I got to be very careful with this one. Smaller alliances that have prots are fine as long as that smaller alliance can actually protect them. If the prot is signed and the smaller alliance cannot protect them, then it's a bad deal, and that alliance should not be protecting other alliances. That was the issue with Vibe. Vibe was an alliance, protected 4 other alliances, and those 4 alliances were getting dicked on constantly. And the entire thing was, okay, we can't do this anymore because You know, because you're making false promises and you're hurting people because of it. Did I die? I'm still here. Okay. Alpha OP? Man, Alpha hasn't been relevant since Alpha. Alpha goes through this weird thing of just coming and going in the game that I don't even I can't even say anything with that. Cause let me look at Alpha because at 50 cities, never gonna give you they're all on gray. Every single person in Alpha is on gray. Only one person has been online in the last 24 hours. Oh wait, hold on. No, it's just my TV. Nope, they're on olive. So you got 17 people. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven of them are on gray. I mean, come on, man. Is Immortal immortal? No. If you want to talk about bloated, the Immortals are bloated. Let me check out the Immortals real quick. Fuck, they're not top 30 anymore? Oh, top 4. Hello. Yeah, Immortals have 13 people in VM, 11 on gray. Come on. What are you doing? What are my thoughts on the death of Pantheon? Tragic, really. The members should not have had to go through that. The leadership was dumb as shit. 100%. I do not care anything about what happened to the leadership, but the members are the people that hurt the most. And when you have a community like that you've played with for 2.5 years, and then the leaders want to be dumbasses about it, and they ultimately destroy what you have been doing over the past 2.5 years as a player, that really sucks. Pantheon should not have gone out like that under any no alliance should go out like that in any circumstance. Want to play CS:GO after this? No, man. It's 8:09 p.m. I'm hungry as hell. I gotta go eat. Maybe after that, but all right. I will take two final questions. Make them good. These really, guys. These are the last two questions. Will you merge with Nova Roma? No, no. I'm just a reporter. I can't merge a newspaper in with Nova Roma. Is Alex gay? No, no, he's not. However, I personally haven't seen a picture with Alex and a girlfriend though, so I don't know. Might be sus. Might be sus. How do you think the next GW will play out? Okay, I'll answer this question and then we're good. The next global war is going to be started by dumb shit, and it's going to be because of Epi. Epi throwing a lot of stuff um, because of what he did in Camelot, what he did in Shrewd, what he did in Pantheon. He's going to do something within another alliance that is going to start the next global. Apparently, Epi is banned from Camelot, but I don't know the validity of that statement. Yeah, I don't know what happened either. So I my prediction is next global. Epi is going to do something that starts the next global. Uh, no, I would say Camelot got to where it is because of Epi, but Camelot does not exist because of Epi. I should do reporting to tactically fire up the war machine on Orbis. I'll tell you what, war is good for me. Let me check the leaderboards real quick. Yeah, I'm only 111 wars away from taking the #1 spot from Corleonesi. Literally, give me the next global. I can get, another 30, 40 wins in, and it'll make me happen. Big if true? No. If the next global starts, it starts. Doesn't matter how it starts. When are the memes coming back? Memes only come back when I have time to do it and when there's something that I actually want to make a meme about. I know that the big boss runs everything in terms of his memes on RON, and he's quicker to make memes than I am. So I don't want to make a meme based on something that he's done because I don't want to take his ideas and just say, "Oh yeah, this is my meme," because that's weak. So if I see something that's meme worthy and nobody else has done it, then I'll do it. Interview Pegleg. I mean, after this, I'll throw the vote up and you can vote for it if you want. But fine. Okay, last question. I want a legitimate question. I don't want a chicken gun. I don't want Thurnborg, Gruten, Greta Thunberg saying it's Friday. I want a legitimate question, and I'm going to answer it. And I do not want the question on what is the validity of life in the universe. What's your nation? House of Julii. All right, guys. Thank you for coming to the Micro Radio Room and coming out to the show. I will have the vote up for the next episode um, in about an hour, so make sure you go ahead and vote on that. And I'll have this episode uploaded to YouTube in about 2 hours as well. So thank you guys so much, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. Take care, guys, and peace.